Hello everybody, Suman Pachigulla here. This video covers all the duties and responsibilities of a recruiter who might have started now or who would like to join into recruiting industry. And this video is going to helpful for you to understand where will you start and where exactly you should celebrate. All right. Let me share the step-by-step duties where exactly it starts. All right. So here, when you join a company, when you go to your office, it starts with a requirement receiving, meaning you are going to get the requirement. So here you might get the requirement from your manager or from your ATS applicant tracking system, or might be from your lead. All right. Now, once you get the requirement, then you need to understand the requirement. So prior understanding the requirement, you got to check the related details, meaning the work location, the freshness of the job, who is the client, what is their domain, what type of job is this, what is the pay, everything that you need to check. Once you have these informations, then you go and try to understand the requirement. What is understanding the requirement? It means you are going to check for what exactly the client is looking for, right? Because if you do not understand the need, then how you are going to find someone who might match your need? So once you understand it, what is the expectation, what is the deliverables, what could be the tools, technologies the person should use, then draft an email. So as soon as you have a requirement and you understood it well, then prepare email draft for your candidates, maybe for your vendors if you are sending it, or for your mass mailing purpose. So you need to prepare different email drafts so that you should not be worried about as soon as you have a contact to connect. Okay, now then if this thing is ready, then you are ready to go for your hunt. Now what is that you should be doing? You got to identify the keywords. Where? From the requirement. Once you identify the keywords, what is keyword? Keyword is something, if you use the word to fetch the results, meaning the keyword should need to be reflected in your output or in the profile or in the resume from the job boards, and that is what says or requires in your requirement, that is what required in your job. So that is the word that you can use as a keyword. Now once you identify the keywords, then prepare for Boolean search string, right? So here, to get you in details, once you get the requirement, try to understand it, then identify the keyword, then source profiles, then screen the candidate, then preparing for submission, then post submission follow-up, pre-interview follow-up, post-interview follow-up, then offer extension, then joining follow-up. These are the duties. Okay, so here I'll go about this in detail in a moment. I hope you understood these three duties, right? So here, once you get the requirement, it should end in joining follow-up. This is where you are going to celebrate. Okay, as long as we have not placed someone as a recruiter, so still our work is pending. Okay, so come back here and let's understand. So once you identify keywords, meaning when you read the requirement, let's say if your client is looking for a Chinese chef who might need to prepare for a sushi, that is one of the dishes. So you should be looking for sushi and a chef. Okay, it could be Chinese chef, it could be Indian chef, whoever it is, but the end result is someone should have experience preparing sushi dish, not the things that the knife, ingredients, the vegetables, or what is the chopper. Those are the things should not be your keywords, but primary thing, once you understand the deliverables, you could choose it according to what can required to get an individual that can fit to this need. Okay, then prepare the Boolean search string with the Boolean operators. Then start sourcing the profiles. So how you are going to source profile? This is where the recruiter needs to focus primarily. You need to understand where you want to go first, whether you would like to check in your own database first. So if you are working in an applicant tracking system, check in your own database if you have any of these candidates previously worked or submitted by somebody else. Then you could go to the portals, Or third, you could go to any of your individual other recruiters who, if they might have worked or known. And fourth, you could go to your groups, YouTube, to WhatsApp groups, or you could go to Google groups, you could go to LinkedIn groups, or you could go to Facebook groups. So you as a recruiter, or you have any vendors that you have built in during your work process, you might need to go to the multiple sources to see where you can find an individual who can fit to the requirement people. So generally only getting into the portals might not be helpful, so you need to go into a different ways. For example, its own database, it could be a FB group, or it could be a WhatsApp group, or it could be a Google group, if you have, according to your which recruiting you are doing. And you may have to go to LinkedIn group, or you need to have your personal contacts, and if you have your vendors list, anything. Okay, so you got to start working on getting where you have the portals, right? And you have a paid portals, okay, where you definitely need to search in. So where you will be spending your time, that's very much important. Then you go to screen your candidates. How you should be screening your candidate? First, you need to understand the genuinity of your candidate, the realness of the candidate. So this is very much important. The realness, communication, and expected skills. So here you have to ask the details, what they have done, how they have done, with what the client is looking for, to understand how genuine the candidate is. Comm skills also very important, because if someone could not able to represent them properly, how do you think they're going to crack an interview, right? And expected skills, meaning the skills that the client is looking for. So here, while talking to the candidate about the expected skills, look for whether the person has previously done it, or currently doing it, or the person has not done it but could able to do it. All right, what is that? Has done it in the past, or currently doing it, or will be able to do it. So this is what you should be primarily asking, because that could be the selling point for you to share the candidate to your client. Now, once you have closed the candidate, talking to the location part, the pay rate, the interest about the requirement, the client, the duration of the job, and everything, then you go to prepare submission. So here, submission is generally in US IT recruiting that you are aware of, that if you are submitting the profile, meaning sharing the profile with your manager, that you call an internal submission. And if that goes to the client, that would be a client submission. Now, why it is important? Here, when you submit a resume, submit a candidate for a particular open position, you need to understand that you should answer this question: why the hiring manager should consider your profile. So here, for you, if you're submitting for this requirement, your candidate might be unique, good for you, but imagine how many such recruiters might have submitted resumes to the open role, right? So for that, your resume should stand out, and at the same time, how you represent your resume is also very much important. Meaning, the way you present, the way you represent, the way you send a write-up, that is very much important. So you go to focus on what sort of questions you are asking, and how you are writing a summary. When the hiring manager reads it, that person should open and look at your resume. Well, if the hiring manager has 2 to 3 or 5 resumes, definitely they can open. Imagine if 5-10 vendors working, and each vendor is sending 10 profiles. So now it is coming to around 50 to 100 profiles altogether, right? So that's what you need to focus on. And once you submit it and it goes to the client, now you got to follow up with the candidate. Why? Because that's where the primary thing happens. If you do not follow up with your candidate, the person might miss your information, or the candidate might miss the submission details or information that person has spoken to you, and you have submitted their resume. So this follow up is very much important. It could be domestic or international, any recruiter you might be. Make sure that this happens very good, or it should happen deliberately with a human touch, not like automatic. That's what you need to understand. Then pre-interview follow-up. Let's say once you submitted it to the client and you got an interview request. So prior to the interview request, and within this, you need to have some follow-up information. The moment you get an interview request, schedule it and prepare the candidate the way your requirement and the hiring manager and the client. Okay, that is what is the pre-interview follow-up is. You might need to let them know that how they should talk, what they should not talk, after interview what they should do, during interview how they answer. That is what very much important. You might need to check with your managers or leads if you don't have it, but that is something is very much important, people. Post interview follow up. If the person has completed the interview, then you need to check how did the interview go, what is the interest, and what would the candidate consider, because it is very much important to check with the candidate whether they would be interested joining your client after they get the project, or they consider something which they have been interviewing in the past. So it's very important the person should join your project. So the post interview follow-up is as important as the pre-interview follow-up. Okay, so here if the candidate has any questions, any doubts, anything else, you may clarify it. So once interview goes well, then the client wants to extend offer. Now this is what the beauty is, right? So once the offer extension happens from the client, it's a time to celebrate and it's a time of tension as well. Why? Because we deal with human beings. We do not deal with laptops, we do not deal with cars, we do not deal with property which will move, but we deal with human, which is very dangerous because they are emotional beings. Whatever can happen at any point of time. So the person may join, may not join. If joins, you will go with the joining follow-up. If the person doesn't join, there's another headache that why the person has not joined, what will you do to close the candidate, and that thing will come up over here. So let's think positively. If the person accept your offer, then you got to start following up for the documentation, background check and other stuff, and for the starting date. And the moment the person starts the job, then it's time for celebration. So the celebration should not happen here, neither at interview stage nor at submission stage. Only we as a recruiter should celebrate at the time of reporting and making sure the candidate is working. All right, I hope this duty sheet is helpful for you. If you want this, I will share the link below so that you can download it. All right, so once again, this is Suman Pachigulla on a mission to impact 5 million lives through recruiters. Take care, and I wish all the best and all the success to all the recruiters out there. I love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.